I want to Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and I want to thank my colleague Renat for helping organize our session today. What we'll do is I'll provide a bit of information for you through some slides, and then you will absolutely have the opportunity to ask questions, and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. And Renat, I wonder if you could keep your eye on the chat since I have the screen sharing on and have quite a few
Of
windows going here. So
course,
that was
no?
wonderful. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Okay, and so I'll just give you a little bit of overview. You have arrived at the open house for I'm just going to see if I can ask if you wouldn't mind muting your microphones just so that we won't hear any background noise if you're able. Uh, oh, great, thank you. So you've made it to the open house for the Language Education and Multilingualism PhD program at the University at Buffalo. This program is housed in the Department of Learning and Instruction, which is one of four departments in the Graduate School of Education at UB. My name is Erin Carney. I am a faculty member in this language education and multilingualism program. I also happen to be the current department chair of learning and instruction, and I've been here in Buffalo for 15 years. And so I have a bit of lived experience here in Buffalo as well as at the institution. So if you were intending to hear about a PhD program related to language education and multilingualism today, you've made it to the right place. I was thinking that perhaps my colleague, Dr. Brute Griffler, would make it. I know she was traveling today, so if we don't see her, nothing to worry about, but that's her name on the bottom of the screen as well. She's another professor in the language education and multilingualism program, and there are other professors as well, but the two of us were going to represent the program today. So I want to talk with you a little bit about what it looks like to apply to the program, and I'll also tell you about some of the elements of our PhD program, and then of course whatever I'll have a full slide on funding, which I know is always a very important issue to address. And then, of course, you'll have some time for question and answer. So one of the first things that I would recommend that you do is check out the program page, which will also show you some of the curriculum, some of the details of the program, as well as these faculty profiles. It's important to understand not just what the program orientation is, but who's here, since doctoral work is so focused on learning alongside another more seasoned researcher. We do a lot of collaborative mentoring and research in the department and in the field, yet your faculty advisor plays a very important role in your academic and professional journey in ways that are a little bit different from even other forms of graduate work, like at the master's level. So one of your first steps is to learn more about the program and who you might be most interested in working alongside. And so, and it's also part of the application to list faculty members that you might be interested in. So that's a very first step to look into. Um, so a little bit more on the Graduate School of Education and what some of our values are. We have been under the leadership of a very visionary dean for the past 7 years. When she arrived, we did some strategic planning as a school of education. We identified what our values were and wrote a strategic plan and our mission, rewrote our mission statement. And so one of those values is very much about inclusivity, um, lifting up diverse perspectives, engaging around our differences, maintaining respect and dignity, even when we differ in our ideas. And we've been working very hard in our department in the last several years to be very student-centric, to be very conscious of the way that new students enter the department and the program. It's very important to us to have a positive, healthy, inclusive community. And so relationships are very important to us, especially when people are coming to the program and to the department and are new. And so inclusivity is a very strong value in both the department and the program that we're going to talk about. Um, this is our department mission. We are a what is called a Research One university, and so research is very much a top priority at the university at Buffalo. At the same time, we're in a graduate school of education and we're a department of learning and instruction. We care very much about the practice of education and what happens in classrooms and schools and for learners and teachers. And so our mission as a department is to prepare educators who teach, lead, research, collaborate alongside communities in order to understand, address, and solve with people, with partners, the real life issues that they are encountering toward transformation on individual, group, and societal, maybe world levels for a more just and equitable society. So we're very much a department of educational scholars who want to make a change, who want to have an impact, who want to make a difference at all levels. The doctoral program, more specifically in language education and multilingualism, has as its mission to address both theoretical and practical educational problems through research in diverse contexts for learning and teaching. And so, in our program currently, for example, you would find students who are interested in settings that are all over the world. We have international students from all over the world. We have students who are from the very local area who are interested in Buffalo area multilingualism in Buffalo and Western New York is quite rich. We are a refugee welcoming city, and so we have a very multilingual refugee population, other immigrant populations, bilingual and multilingual families that have long been in the region. It's a very multilingual place. Okay. Um, so more specifically, even than our mission in the PhD program, our learning objectives over the course of what is typically a 4 to 5 year full-time course of study, we have four main objectives that we want our students to be able to say by the end of their program, yes, this is something that I achieved during my time in the doctoral program. Most maybe expectedly is the idea that we want our students to develop foundational knowledge in the discipline of language education. We want you to be able to learn about theory, existing research, the existing research literature, and we also want you to be able to understand very deeply what motivates research design, how researchers make their decisions about the studies that they conduct, and then to gain practice with those. So we aim on a very primary level to make sure that there's very solid foundational knowledge amongst our students. You'll notice that the learning sciences is also referenced in this first program learning objective, and that is because the Department of Learning and Instruction has many faculty. We have almost 40 faculty members. Some of them are in language education, others of them are in the areas of literacy, science education, math education, and several other disciplinarily focused areas. We also have scholars and faculty and students now in our department who identify as learning scientists, and they tend to be more focused on sort of broad transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary areas of educational research around teaching and learning. And sometimes we'll be bringing different kinds of methods into educational research, and that has very much enriched our own PhD program in language education and multilingualism. I can say too that you work across faculty members and courses, and so although the myself, Dr. Brooke Griffler, Dr. Austin, Dr. Malavey, and Dr. Young teach classes that are very focused on language education. You might also take a class, for example, called Learning Theories, where students from across the department who may have areas of interest other than your own would also be in the class. This is a primary focus. A second major objective of our PhD program is that students can emerge at the end and say, yes, I have learned to conduct rigorous and original research independently and collaboratively. Often, when people think of PhD programs, they think about the dissertation at the end, that big research project that gets conducted by the student and then written into a big long document and that they defend at their dissertation defense. And it's true, we do have a dissertation and a defense at the end. But that idea of independent scholarship or solo scholarship is not the only one that we value or adopt in our programs. In the Department of Learning and Instruction, we very much value collaborative research and the sorts of insights that emerge when researchers and partners, community partners, school partners, think together about what the appropriate research questions should be, design the study together, analyze data together, and then discuss what significance it has. So there are both of those um, formats for carrying out research that are valued in our program. Our third program learning objective is that we are able to, we hope that our students are able to take up roles as thought leaders. So this is really about our goal of being transformative and helping our students to develop into the transformative scholars that they hope to be. So that kind of transformation might be around shaping new theories. It might be around shaping the ways that people carry out teaching and learning in language education settings or in multilingual settings. And again, our overall goal is to carry out transformative scholarship that makes a positive difference in the world, makes the world a more equitable, a more just, a more inclusive place. Finally, a fourth objective of our program is to ensure that our students gain the kinds of professional experiences that they need. So outside of the courses that you take, outside of the dissertation study that you end up carrying out, what else do you need in order to be successful at emerging from a PhD program? This might include things like teaching courses, having some university level education related teaching experiences. All of the students in our PhD program teach one course with a mentor as a mentored teaching experience. And then we often hire our students to continue teaching, usually in summer, but sometimes during the academic year. So teaching might be part of that extra professional experience. In terms of research, we often involve our students in our own faculty-led research projects. Um, and so being able to be part of a research team, maybe it's learning about a grant funded project, learning about how to apply for and manage um, funded research. Um, Attending conferences, presenting scholarship with your advisor or on your own. These are all other kinds of professional experiences that are very important for doctoral students. One of the things that we routinely do as faculty members when we go to conferences is introduce our students to other people in the field who might be studying similar things and help them make those connections. So really, outside of the things that you might expect from a doctoral program, rich, exciting, stimulating coursework, um, the ability to be supported in developing a meaningful dissertation study, there's also a lot of attention in our program to helping you identify and then carry out the kinds of activities that will help you be successful based on what your goals are for once you complete the PhD program. Okay, so that's a little bit of an overview. I'll talk a little bit more about the application and some of the elements of our program. So, in order to apply to the PhD program in, we call it LEM for short, since it's such a mouthful to say language education and multilingualism every time. So, in order to apply, these are the elements that will be part of your submission. You can submit a resume or CV. So, here is a place for you to give us an overview, a summary of your professional and academic experiences to date. If you have any kind of research experiences, you can list them there. That is not required, but if you have them, you can list those. If you've done teaching at different levels, you can outline that as well. Um, we also ask for a statement of interest. And so this is your place to tell us about your background, to give us a sense of who you are, what has brought you to applying to a PhD program, what it is you hope to develop and learn through doctoral study, and what you think you might do on the other side of a PhD program. Um, and those things can be as specific or broad as your thinking is at the current moment. I'll give you an example, and I'll say too that whatever you write in your statement of research and career goals, if you change your mind, if you're admitted, that won't be a problem. Sometimes people think we'll hold them to the research interests that they say in their statement of interest, but really it's good if you're flexible and you're thinking, open to new ideas, that's fine. Some people do write in their statement of research goals exactly what they end up studying, and many don't. And so that's completely fine. For an example, I was going to share with you that when I started my own doctoral program, I thought for sure that I was going to study psycholinguistic aspects of second language acquisition. I took one class on sociolinguistics and was completely um, driven to pursue another direction. And so even when we think we know, we don't always know. So the statement of interest is very important and a place that we definitely want to hear your voice and your interests. We also request a sample of academic writing. This can be a thesis if you're coming out of a master's program where a thesis was part of what you completed as a capstone. If you have any kinds of professional publications, those might be journal articles, they might be a book review, they might be related to like, a practitioner facing piece, like a teacher to teacher sort of publication, um, or a scholarly essay. So that might be like a course paper that you produced in a master's program. And so just something that gives us a sense of how you write. And here too, we're sort of trying to get a sense of you, your voice, and your interests, but in a different way. We'll also ask for unofficial transcripts from all of the colleges that you've attended. If you have already applied to UB, they're automatically submitted. And then we'll ask as well for contact information for two individuals. And so these can be we certainly hope that you'll be able to give us the name of somebody who can speak to your academic background, experience, and potential. But it can also be somebody who has worked with you professionally. So let's say you've been carrying out English teacher education for many years somewhere outside of the United States, and you want to ask your supervisor who knows about that part of your professional history. That would be an appropriate recommendation letter as well. But we do definitely want to get a sense of your academic potential. And so if you have academic references that you can provide names for, that is also very welcome. And finally, there's a $50 application fee. So those are the elements of your application. And of course, if you have any questions about that at the end, I'm happy to help. Um, To give you a little bit more information about the PhD program itself, many of our students come to us with a master's degree already completed, and you may transfer in 10 credits from your however many credit master's program. That's pretty typical. And then the bulk of students' coursework is split into two big buckets. You have this concentration area for 24 credits, and that works out to roughly 8 courses. We also have a research methods um, category, and that works out to roughly 7 seated courses. So all in all, it's about 15 courses, and then you move into a more independent research stage. And so that roughly translates to about 2.5 years of full-time coursework. I know that doctoral programs don't look the same all over the world. I recently learned that one of our international students who was coming from somewhere else in the world said that the doctoral program that he was familiar with in his own home country, there were not any courses that students attend. It was more of an independent, reading, going to the library. There were no actual courses. So for us, our program is based around coursework, and we have a wide range. And I'll show you an example of um, curriculum that will show you a typical pathway through the PhD program. So the first 2.5 of those 4 to 5 years, you're taking courses. There is one course at the beginning of our program that we call a pro seminar. It's short for professional seminar. And the idea is that you get all first year students take it. It's the first class that you take, and it's meant to be a bit of a welcome and an induction. And so the goals of that class are to get a sense of the research landscape and the landscape of the field. So um, starting, if I can use a metaphor, to start sort of mapping, like sort of figuring out where all of the different areas of interest are in language education research. And then another main goal of that class is to help you start authoring your own identity as a scholar. And so we do quite a lot of talking about, what your research interests are. There are invited speakers, people who have been working in language education research so that you can find some inspiration among other scholars and help use some of that to help you build your own sense of scholarly identity. And so there's a very intentional pro-seminar course and then a wide range of classes that you can take in the concentration area. The last 3 bullet points, the research analysis exam, the research component, and the dissertation, you will see far fewer credits, but they take up just as much time as that first 2.5 years of coursework. The research analysis exam, the research component, and the dissertation are what we call program milestones. And so they are stages, essentially. And I'll show you a little bit more detail of what they look like in a minute. Hopefully you're able to see some of the small font on your screen. And I believe our slides should be available to you after the meeting, or you can just email me for the slides, and I'm happy to share them. This is the sort of typical coursework, and you'll see too that we're organized into stages here. And so this first big rectangle at the top is the first stage of a student's program. And so this is the first 2 to 3 semesters. This is all that foundational coursework that I was mentioning. So we have certain courses that all of our students will take that are related specifically to language education. And then you'll see a listing of, there's a lot of flexibility in what the additional courses are you take in those early years. So we have some very language education focused, but as I mentioned, if you wanted to take something like learning theories or curriculum theory, um, I'm thinking there was a very interesting class on community engaged teaching and teacher education last spring. You can rotate in one of those courses even in your first year. So you would get some foundational concentration courses. You would get your research foundation courses. So this 589 second language education research, this is the pro seminar class that I was just describing to you. And then across our whole school of education, we strongly recommend that our students take at least two courses in a dominant methodological paradigm and one course in a non-dominant. And so what I mean by that is if you are thinking at the earliest parts of your doctoral program that you are probably going to be a qualitative researcher, then we want you to take the first two qualitative courses because that's your dominant paradigm. And then you would take one course in the quantitative so that you would be able to interpret and sort of assess and evaluate other kinds of research in the field, even if it's not the method that you use yourself. Um, and if you remember a few slides back, the overall credit total for research methods classes is 21. And so these research foundations classes in the first 3 semesters, it's only coming out to 12. So that would suggest, and you'll see it down in stage 2, that there is additional, more advanced research methods classes that you go on to, but we ensure that everybody has that foundational introduction. What marks the end of stage 1 in our doctoral program is what we call the research analysis exam. Um, Once you have completed between 18 and 24 credits, so that is, what is that, between 6 and 8 courses total, you are ready to take the research analysis exam. This is an experience where your advisor, your faculty advisor, selects an empirical research article or another article if you're sort of becoming interested in conceptual frameworks and things like that. It can be more theoretical, but typically it is a published empirical article that is related to your interests and also your preferred methodological paradigm. And you read it and you critique it. And so that allows for a very formative conversation between an advisor and a student about here's what you're understanding really well about theory, about the existing literature, about methodological design of research, and here are some places where you can go next, right? So it's like a checkpoint to help facilitate that conversation between an advisor and a student. The second stage of the doctoral program continues after that research analysis exam, and we move into more of a specialization phase. So stage 1 is about foundations, stage 2 is about specialization. And so we have many uh, advanced language education seminars. We have one this fall, for example, on bilingualism and cognition, taught by my colleague, Dr. Bulgarelli, um, who has very interesting research on multilingualism and babies. Very interesting stuff. Um, and so lots of options. The faculty rotate topics, but some of the typical ones have been advanced second language acquisition, sociolinguistics, and we've had other examples. The research specialization courses will be sometimes around analyzing language data specifically, and other times there'll be specific methods like narrative methods in education research, which is a course we're offering as well this semester. Finally, this is also in stage 2, the 3 credits of a mentored teaching experience that I was mentioning before, you'll see in stage 2. And then the last 2.5 years are just the 2 rows here at the bottom. It doesn't look like much compared to the rest of the page, but you have a research component, which is a pre-dissertation study. This is carried out with the assistance of your faculty advisor. Planning for the research component or the pilot for your dissertation or a small project. This is meant to help you practice your research skills um, and to prepare for the larger dissertation study. Often the research component and the dissertation are related, although we do have examples where a student will do one smaller scale project for the research component and then do a larger and different topic for the dissertation. That happens too. Depending on the kind of study that you do for your dissertation, that phase three can take a different amount of time, right? So it really depends on the study design. Okay, so here are those same stages represented a little bit more succinctly. Stage one, stage two, and stage three with the milestones attached to them and the typical amount of credits that students have when they enter those stages. Okay. All right. So this is a little bit more information, the details on this, and I really just wanted to include these so that if you wanted to review this after our session today, you would have some information to go on. Now, to a very important topic of funding. I know that is always very important. We know how essential that is for our students. We are very happy to be able to fund our students who are admitted to the language education and multilingualism PhD program, as well as the other two PhD programs in our department. Um, the assistantship is a graduate assistantship that provides a 10-month stipend. These start at 23,000. They go up to 38,000. And so the reason that there are differences is just that the funding sources are different. And so some of our fellowships and assistantships are larger than others. In addition to that stipend, which is intended to help you pay your living expenses, your housing, your day-to-day, your food and sort of everything, your essentials. Um, in addition to that stipend, your tuition is also fully covered, and your fees are also waived. And so there's no cost to students in terms of tuition and fees. Um, there are some additional scholarships. There are, with certain of our fellowships, a few extras. So things like conference travel or sometimes books. And so we're very happy to be able to provide those when the fellowship includes them. Okay, so I think that is the essential information that I was hoping to share with you. And so I would love to be able to open things to questions. Renad, do you want to share anything before we do?